ladies and gentlemen, here with the very late week 4 video. Um, it is about an hour and 15 minutes before kickoff, but somebody forgot we were supposed to record on Friday night. I don't want to say who it was. Might have been me, but we forgot,
We can
and then
blame
we were.
K-Migs.
We could blame K
We can
Migs.
blame K-Migs.
Let's blame K
Yeah,
Migs.
he
Why
was
not?
supposed to
Everything's
be
his
there.
fault. Yeah, he thought it was supposed to be somebody else, but thought it was him, and then nobody said anything, and then I realized at midnight, I think the last 2 days that we were supposed to report and didn't. So we're here to do it now, right before the games kick off. I've still got to set lineup, so you know how you guys come in here and it's like you, Codes, and I, and then we talk for like a minute or two, and I'm like, this should take 20 minutes. This should take 20 minutes. We should be
We
done
hope
this
so.
very quickly, but we're just going to kind of get right into it. So we split the league up into two different halves, basically, where Code's got half, I've got half. And we're going to talk about if a team should be panicked, calmed, or hype coming out of their those initial games. Let me turn the music down a little bit here. I think I put it up a little louder than I'm supposed to. But so basically talking about whether they should be panicked about what's happened so far, calm about what's happened so far, or if they should be really excited for how the season's gone so far, just with how important those first three divisional games are. And so we'll start it off with you, Code, and you've got the entire Jamarcus Russell division. I've got the division of death, and then we split up our division. So you've got it first with Dan Flashes. Dan Flashes coming into this week to pull up my handy dandy cheat sheet here. They are 3-3. Technically, they're tied for the top of their division, but they have the least points for it, 330. The Deli's got 360. Morgan's got 400, but all three of them 3-3. What are your thoughts on Dan Flashes? Should they be panicked? Should they be calm? Or should they be hype about how it's gone so far?
Initially, when I was thinking about it, I was going to have them at panic, but I think Jordan Love's expected to play today. And if he is like healthy and can play, I think they could be kind of calm actually because, I mean, we saw Aaron Rodgers Thursday night was playing good. They've still got talent. Obviously after this year, that's probably when you hit the panic button. But like right now, where they stand in the division, I think like Dan can afford to be calm, but the future is looming and it's not looking great in the future.
Yeah.
But this year, I mean, maybe he can sneak in the extra pick. Maybe he can sneak into playoffs because of just the way the division looks. So I'm gonna say Dan's okay to be calm right now.
Yeah, I agree. I remember you told me initially it was panic, and I was like, I don't know about panic.
Yeah.
I'm calm if I'm where Dan is. I think that if anything, I would be a little bit excited just because I'm kind of proving the haters wrong that I'm technically up there with the big dogs at the top of the division.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think calm is a really good place. These next
Well,
couple games
apparently,
are
like,
really pivotal.
I think Cooper Cup is like out of the walking boot, and like I know that like Love's expected to play today. I didn't know he was going to play. I thought maybe like they sit him again another week. But
Right.
if Love's playing today, Cup's out of the walking boot. I mean, Cup could be back in like 2 weeks, and then Dan's fine. So
Yeah.
you know,
And not only that, just looking at Cup, so they've got Chicago this week where he's ruled out already. Green Bay next week, then their bye, and then so hopefully he's just kind of back ready to go once the bye comes back and all
Yeah.
that good stuff. Similar to what I hope the Eagles do with AJ Brown. So we'll see.
yes,
But Dan has
yes,
a game this week against the Seawards. This has got to be one of those ones. I feel like with Dan, once you get to the playoffs, anything can happen. But there's certain games that you can't lose, and there's certain games that
yeah,
it's okay if you lose. And I feel like this is a must-win game for Dan for sure against the Seawards. Liquidators toss up any division of death team toss up, ticket to ride toss up. He's got to beat
yeah.
the Liquidators. He's got to beat the Implications. He's got to beat Flynn. There's some must wins, and I think that's one this week. So, speaking of the division of death, Brownout coming up next. I think you've got to be hype if you're Brownout. Brownout 5-1, tied with the Pandas for first place in their division. They do not have the most points for. That does go to the Pandas, but they are less than 3 points behind most points for. So Brownout's in a good spot. I think that they're, you want to say hype, but also calm because this is kind of what's expected coming out of these games,
Yeah.
5-1. So sitting towards the top, if not the top of their division. I don't remember who specifically beat who, so we don't know that the tiebreakers like officially, because the sleeper has the Pandas at number one, but technically, we want. Oh yeah, they are. Yeah, so they did beat Brownout. So technically, the Pandas are in first place, but Brownout 5-1.
Yeah.
Very happy with the start that they've got. shouldn't have any issues. No major injuries for the team. I know that people are complaining Mahomes is washed or not good for fantasy, but there's still no major issues there. He's still doing well. Goff and Ayuk look a little scary, but I don't think there's any ground out to be anything worse than calm with how the games have gone so far.
Yeah, calm or hype. I mean, he could be hype about Saquon, I guess.
Yeah,
Because we're hyped about him.
yeah,
But,
very, very much so. But then he's got to figure out what to do at the end of the season, I guess, with the disgruntled franchise tag. So it could be a situation exactly how it was in real life
with
in our
the
league.
Giants, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, next up, Justin's Deli, yours 3-3 again, tied for first in the division, 357 points for, which is honestly middle of the pack, if not the lower half of the pack. You've got the implications of the worst, followed by the Project Badass, followed by C Words, Dan Flashes, and then Justin's Deli. But 3-3, tied for first place in the division. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, if I'm Allen, I'm calm. You know, he loves that stars and studs roster mentality where he doesn't really care about depth. And I mean, you know, it's a long season, but for right now, I think he's calm because he's you know, got a good chance to end up first in this division because I mean, this division, like we've said, has just been such a coin flip as to who's going to break out. And I mean, I think he's right in the running for first, and I don't really see that changing.
Yeah. Big game this week for him against Brownout, but at the exact same time, you get it out of the way right away. That's kind of nice. But you almost wish the games against those Titans comes on a week that you have a whole bunch of buys, and that's not the case just yet. But
Yeah.
all right, moving on to our next team. I just remembered something incredibly important I have to do in the promotion league. So yeah, we've got it. Not Harry, but you know, don't let me forget. Kung Su Pandas are next up. First place in the league, technically. First place in the division, technically. I think you've got to be hype coming out of these games so far. They have the most points for. They have the 5-1 record. The other teams with 5-1 are Ticket to Ride and Brownout. They hold a tiebreaker over Brownout. They hold a tiebreaker over Ticket to Ride. You've got to be really happy. This is, you know, the course that Unicorn has kind of taken every single year, but I'm sure he's really excited to kind of come out of these divisional games again on top. Is this the third time he's come out of division on top? That's a fun trivia question.
Yeah, it is. I don't really know, but I would not be surprised.
I would not be surprised. I wonder if I can look at that quickly enough while talking
He's
to you.
definitely Unicorn's definitely like similar, like to me in that like we're always both underrated perpetually, and yet we're like at the top of the league standings all time in like, you know, win-loss ratios. So it's like I don't get why Unicorns, you know, just continually like not necessarily hated on, but just like underrated perpetually.
I fucking hate that guy. Kung Fu Pandas. Unicorn, by the way, did come out of the divisional games in first place. In last year, in 2022, it looks like they lost to Brownout in week 1. Does Brownout go 3-0? Yeah, so they came out.
Yeah.
They came out in second place in 2022. So this is normal for Unicorn, but he's got to be, I think, excited and with where he's at right now. Most points for, you know, it looks like we're destined for a Brownout Kung Su Pandas match at some point in time. But you know, that remains to be seen. But I think you've got to be hyped out of these divisional games if you are Kung Su Pandas. Moving on to Project Badass, who is the 1-5 team, the only team that is actually, no, the C Words are 1-5 as well. So down there in 11th place currently, destined for the toilet bowl bracket, but it's almost according to plan. What do you think?
Yeah, I think this is like the easiest one in the book because he's got to be calm because like what else can you? I mean, you can't really panic because you knew coming into this was going to be a lost season. You can't really be hyped either because it's not like the future looks great. But if he can just stay the course, maybe he finds some diamonds in the rough on waivers or like some of his bench players maybe break out later in the season to where he can compete in the toilet bowl. I think he's got to be pretty calm about how things are playing out. I mean, like stumbling into Andy Dalton was nice, you know. but I don't know how long Andy starts. I mean, maybe he starts the rest of the season. I don't really think so, but who knows?
Yeah.
I think he's got to be pretty calm.
Yeah, I think I'm also surprised that more hasn't been done. Finding the money with Andy Dalton, Carson Steele,
Yeah,
um, Deontay's look good. I'm surprised that he hasn't tried to do something somewhere else. But at the exact same time, I think the project kind of recognizes this season isn't real. The season doesn't matter. He got his first back, and now he's just happy to get to next
right.
year. Um, hence the calm. So going to the inaugurals now. I don't want to say panic by any means. So I think I'll go with calm. I went with excited and hyped for Brownout and Kung-Su Panda, so I think calm is probably the right thing for the inaugurals. I loved Cam's meme. For those of you guys that did or didn't see it, with the Star Wars one where it's the Anakin meme talking to Padme, and it's like,
Yeah.
I escaped the divisional round 4 and 2, and it's like, oh, you lost to Brownout and the Pandas, right? And it's really was against Flynn in the median. Um, it's absolutely hysterical, but and incredibly accurate. But I think you've got to stay calm. I think where it gets more fun is as the season goes, trying to pick up the wins here and there. But most points against 515. Not by far the most points against, but by far. Brownout next at 473, and the Pandas at 441 because of that division. The next closest team is about 100 points away from where Cam is in 3 games, which is insane. So given the insane amount of points against, got to stay calm. Still great at points for, I think, 4th, 5th, 6th in the league at points for, so in a good spot. Flynn's up there at number 4, which is incredible. So, I don't think that sustains, and so I think the inaugurals are fine and should be calm as they head into their next couple weeks. Who do they have this week just for fun? They've got Ticket to Ride. That's a hell of a matchup. Will be a big, possibly playoff foreshadowing matchup. So let's talk about the Liquidators. Slight pivot before we finish off each division, as you have the Liquidators, and then I will take the C words.
I think we need to do Morgan too.
Yeah, they're up later on. I threw in a curveball. This is exciting to me. This is how boring my life is.
So, man, if you're Chase, you got to be hyped because Malik Neighbors looks like fantasy superstar.
Yeah.
And then obviously the news about McCaffrey, like maybe coming back in November, so he might have him in time for like a late push to the playoffs if he even needs that. Because at this point, there's a good chance he could be first in the division in the Achilles Smith with just the trajectory of his team right now. I think everything's clicking on all cylinders for him right now. So hopefully he can, keep it up. But yeah, you got to be hyped right now if you're Chase.
Yeah, and I think that all the pieces on his team get better, right? Pearsall got shot. He's coming back at some point in time. Debo's questionable, but coming back at some point in time. Jonathan Brooks, we still haven't seen him be unleashed, and we saw what Chuba Hubbard did. Mingo on the taxi squad. We'll see if he survives to week 6, depending on how Andy Dalton does now without Thielen. You've kind of got to put Mingo and Leggett, who he has both of them, in your lineup to see what you've got. McCaffrey's going to come back at some point in time. So I think it's exciting. Shout out Malik Neighbors, by the way, for 2 different reasons. One, that juke he put on the dude in the Cowboys game. Oh my God, did you see it? Oh my God.
I watched a lot of the game, but I didn't actually see that live. There were certain spots I missed in that game.
Dude, remind me. I'm writing Neighbors, juke, and what's the thing I have to do? Promotion league.
Promo league, yeah.
Oh my God, it was incredible. And I literally, so you know how you read a book and you're reading a book about 2 characters and they're like, oh, he's over there, she exclaimed. Nobody's ever exclaimed in their life. In reality, I actually exclaimed because I was watching it and I literally went, oh, and I was just exclaiming. And it was incredible. So shout out to him for that. Shout out to him for also helping me hit a parlay. I did Neighbors 10+ receptions, Giants cover the spread, and Cowboys win, and I hit for 200 on a $5 parlay. So I was really excited about that. Look how beautiful my wife is. She's leaving. Wave to the camera.
Where am I waiting?
Right there. Bye. Love you. She's
Yeah,
going to
did
brunch.
perfect.
She's great. She puts up with all my shit. So everybody shout out Courtney. I love you.
Was the neighbor's juke better
It
or
was
worse than the Jalen Hurts juke like a couple years back where Lane Johnson was like he hit that L1 juke? You remember that?
um,
And Jalen
probably
Hurts had
better
the
just
flip
because I
of
don't
the
remember it.
examples.
I
Yeah,
don't remember it. But yeah, this was great. I'll show you afterward. So don't let me forget. So yeah, shout out Malik Neighbors. It sucks. I'm becoming more of a football fan than an Eagles fan. So it sucks because I like Malik Neighbors a lot, but I hate the Giants. So we'll see. Speaking of Giants and hating Giants, it's Rick. At 1-5, I think you're calm. I think you're just hoping some of these pieces that you have put it together. I think you're hoping that Richardson and Caleb put it together, but you've got the time for it. You're hoping that Kelsey can turn it into something because you bought him. So you're hoping that he can kind of get back together to help you produce in the toilet bowl or in the extra pick bracket. But that's the year for tight ends. You're hoping Mike Evans can do the same thing. You're hoping that Henry can do what he did last week every week as opposed to 10 and then 16. You went 33. So I think you're calm because I think that Rick has kind of embraced the similar project that this year doesn't count almost. I think he's just happy to sit and wait and see how it goes and hope for the best. Like if he ends up in the playoffs somehow, I think he's fine. If he ends up an extra pick, I think he's fine. If he ends up in toilet bowl, I think he's fine. But I think Rick, no matter what happens this year, is calm. And he's just hoping somebody put it together. I heard a quote the other day that I thought was incredible, and it's Anthony Richardson can make throws that 99% of quarterbacks cannot make, but Anthony Richardson cannot make a throw that 99% of quarterbacks can make. And it's incredibly accurate after watching some of the games with him. Like it's frustrating. I could not imagine being a Colts fan right now.
He's been. I mean, I remember some people in like startups were talking about him being like. I mean, I still think his upside is possible, but like taking him over certain like solidified quarterbacks is just kind of crazy. And it's like, I mean, last year, like he had those like that 4-game stretch where he was blowing it up for fantasy because of the rushing production. But like we've known since college, his completion percentage has never been like amazing.
Yeah.
And that was, shoot, the dude can throw the ball 70 yards down the field and hit Alec Pierce.
Nothing. Like it's nothing. I mean, so in that startup that we joined, my coworker took him and Stroud at 4 and 5 and left Burrow on the board and let Lamar on the board, and I don't understand how you take Lamar at 3. Wow. And I forget who went 3. I mean, it doesn't matter.
Stroud or something. I know Stroud and Richardson, like the hype is just, I mean. Yes, their upside is immense, but I mean, my goodness, sometimes.
But yeah, sometimes
I talked about this before, like taking those guys over like Lamar and Burrow, who are proven surefire things.
Yeah, take the easy pick. I can't remember who went at 3. I'm looking now as we talk, but while I'm looking this up, just for funsies, let's talk about the Tigers. I swear we didn't forget about you, Morgan. What do you have for the Tigers? By the way, the person that went at 103 was Hurts. Duh. So yeah, Allen Mahomes, who your boy traded up for, Hurts, and then Richardson, Stroud, which is, ugh. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean dynasty, so never know. But
yeah,
what's the Tigers? Man,
3 and 3.
If I'm Morgan, I am absolutely hype about Jaden Daniels, Nico Collins, and J.K. Dobbins.
Yep.
And I'm panicked about everywhere else because. Like tight end position is an absolute crapshoot. I mean, granted, tight end position in all of fantasy is a crapshoot because Andrews and Kelsey don't seem to exist anymore, and just
and Laporta.
What's going on with tight end? But I mean, he's had some injuries. I know he's got depth. So I don't know. Mine is kind of a mixture for him. I feel like he's very hype about certain players and like the outlooks that certain players have, but also like. Kind of panic because I don't know if, like I've said before, I don't know if he has the firepower to compete with like Dan and Allen. But we never know because this division is literally a coin flip, and it will go down to the wire. And then, at week 15 or whatever, I guess week 15 is when the playoffs start. Week 13 or week 14 is when we'll finally know because while other divisions there might be kind of set in stone, like this could just flip on its head. So.
Yeah, I think weeks 12, 13, 14, when that second round of divisional games comes back around, that is going to determine, I think, this division in its entirety. I think that, we'll have some play with the Liquidators and the Ticket to Ride. But it's probably going to be like one of them has to catch up to the other. I
Yeah.
think the other two divisions, though, are just going to be an absolute mess. But this one is the messiest of messes when it comes to those games later on. I think I agree with you. Oh boy, spoiler alert! Win like Flynn's next. I th- it's tough. I almost kind of want to take the opposite approach of what you did for Morgan for Flynn. I want to be really excited about my entire team, but scared shitless about my quarterbacks. Um, shout out Wandale Robinson for coming alive and looking good in his game. That's great to see as a Giants fan because Neighbors is going to get triple covered, I think, at this point in time. So seeing that they had a good second viable threat was nice. Godwin's been doing incredible. BTJ's been looking incredible. Bowers has been looking incredible. Marvin Harrison's been looking good. JSN, he's fine. He's still behind in the pecking order, but he had that massive week too. But your quarterbacks of Daniel Jones, Bryce Young, Billy Jeans, Derek Carr, Sam Darnold is scary.
Like me
Yeah.
called him Billy Jeans instead of Will Levis.
Well, that's what his nickname is on the thing. So yeah, well, Billy Jeans.
It is.
Um, but the thing is like I don't think that Jones is as bad as everybody acts like he is. Like his stats weren't miserable. When I was watching the game itself, but there's not a surefire number one there, and I feel like you need to have a dominant number one to win a Superflex league that has 6-point passing touchdowns. But Flynn still has picks and everything. So I think for the most part, Flynn's excited about the future, but should be calm about the present is what I'll go with. My final answer there. All right, and then it's just the two of us left, and we've got each other. So the implications, back to you. 0-6. This is the week, by the way. This is the week that I have a chance against Project, and it's not looking good. But this is my only shot. So go ahead. The implications.
I mean, like you got to be kind of calm with where you're at right now because you knew like where the season was gonna go for you after last year and then the off season and stuff. So I would say calm. I mean, I guess you could be hype about certain moves you made because like trading away McCaffrey, getting off the Burrow contract, some of the guys you've picked up, and then like just some of the moves you made, things have seemed to play out for you. Like AJ Brown, the hamstring injury, like you had him on your roster too.
Right.
So I think I think you're in I mean as good of a spot as you can be in for someone that's literally punting this season, to the moon. So I'd say you're calm. Just got to see if you can figure out how to scrounge some points up for the toilet bowl games.
Yeah, man. It also is somewhat nice to see that Cam had a weird week where he lost to Flynn. But the four firsts, one is mine, probably 104, and then I've got Codes, Cam, and K Mig. So it's like 3 playoff firsts. So, not the sexiest first round picks in the world, but we'll see. The time will tell, and that's it's a long season, but excited for it so far, I suppose. And then we'll end this bad boy with Ticket to Ride. Not in a bad spot at all. 475, third most points for in the league, just 20 behind Brownout and 23 behind Kangsu Pandas ish. 25, 30 something. Math is not fun to do quickly. But 5-1, tied for first place in the league until we get to tiebreakers and all that good stuff. But I think you've got to be hype. The Liquidators have looked inconsistent to an extent. We thought that the C-Words might have had a dog in the race, and it doesn't seem that they do. So you've got to be excited just for the fact that it's a two-headed race at the top of the division. And then that you did pick up the win over the Liquidators, if I'm not mistaken, correct?
That was week 1, I believe.
Yeah. So you did pick up the win over them, 196-92. Nice to know for you that the Liquidators can have some of those dud weeks. You currently have that tiebreaker spot. You're up a game. Your team has been consistent. 196 is like the third or fourth most points scored so far in a week this year. As Flynn got to 200, the Pandas got to 200 another week. So Chase did 206 last week. So So right now you've got the tiebreaker, first place in the division, heading in the right direction. It's almost kind of like how I talked to about Allen, where there's certain games you can't lose. There are certain games you can't lose as well to maintain that lead. And this is a big test right out of the gate with the inaugurals, both of you guys. It's not a must-win game in week 4 since both of you guys are good teams and winning records, but it's almost like your first major, we really need to win this game or things are going to be a little scary later on down the line, I think. So that's definitely going to be the one of the, if not the game to watch this week for sure. Otherwise, that really does it for us. Final thoughts that you have? Anything else you want to talk about or go over as we wrap this thing?
Do we want to look at like our picks for this week or not really?
What do you mean, like who what did the thing?
Yeah, like we've got Ticket to Ride inaugurals, and then we've got Dan and Seawards. What are the other matches we have?
So implications against Project, Dan against Seawards, Ticket to Ride against inaugurals, Pandas against Liquidators, Wet Tigers against Flynn, Brownout against the Deli. So the major matchups. Yeah, well, let's do it. Let's briefly go over who we think wins each one. We don't need to talk about the first one, right? I think Project wins that one.
Yeah, Project probably takes that one.
Yeah, 2-0 for Project. This one's a fun one. Seawards against Dan Flashes. Both things are ready to go. It's really a matter of which team shows up. Mike Evans has looked rough. Allen's been out. Cooper's looked rough. Juwan Jennings, does he do that again? I'll go with Dan.
Does he have Jordan Love in his lineup, or is he still slacking? Okay. All right. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm gonna go with Rick because I think that Mike Evans blows up on the Eagles. It's kind of tradition, isn't it? So. It
is kind of tradition. Yeah, I'll go with Dan. I think
Although,
Dan, but
I will say Quinyon Mitchell is that dude.
He is that dude.
It feels weird, but I feel like he'll lock up Godwin or something instead.
Yeah, he locked up every fucking receiver on the Packers. And then talked his shit afterward, which I appreciated.
Yeah.
Hope Morgan sees. Yeah. So I'll go Dan. You got Rick. We'll see how that goes. Ticket to Ride against the inaugurals. Let me do my thing that I do where I look at the quarterbacks and make a decision based purely off that. I'll go with Ticket to Ride. I'll go with Ticket to Ride. Singletary did not do his thing this week, which is miserable.
Yeah, that kind of sucked, but it is what it is.
The problem is I don't believe in any of your receivers, but you cannot help but believe in his receivers.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, that's what's tough. But I mean, with the little injury bug we've had, we just got to kind of roll with the next guy up. So maybe Keon Coleman gets some more run against the game that should be competitive in Baltimore.
That should be a fun game to watch. They just need to unleash Shakir. Like Shakir is the only one who seems like he's doing it. Keon's a rookie, we'll see. But Shakir should just let Shakir go. I'll go inaugurals. Change my mind. I'm going to go inaugurals.
Fair enough, because I wasn't changing my mind.
Yeah, I figure. Another big one, the Pandas against the Liquidators. Pandas projected to lose currently by 20-some points. Why is that?
This one is spicy.
Cam Makers in the flex spot. Sheesh.
Well, Cam should be starting because I think Mixon was just ruled out. So.
Oh, did he just get ruled out? So the projections haven't been updated. I'm not a projection slave or anything, but it's interesting.
Yeah, Olave is playing too. But yeah, this is just, I don't know, like having that cushion of points from Malik Neighbors on Thursday night is really nice for him. I think if I would not be surprised if Chase wins, but
are there 2 games Monday night again?
I'm picking Chase this week.
I want to pick Chase. I do, but I think the numbers and the data and the statistics tell me to pick Unicorn. So I'll be a left brain thinker instead of right brain thinker. Am I the only one who hates 2 games on Monday night? Oh my God, you're on this thing twice. Am I the only one who hates games on Monday night? 2 games? I feel like it's annoying.
The doubleheader, yeah. I mean, I feel like so from a player's perspective, I feel like it's nice to have that extra day of like rest or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, the doubleheader Monday night stuff is just kind of like gimmicky. It's like Thursday night football. It's like, why the fuck are we doing this?
Well, I like Thursday night football. I just don't like 2 games on Monday. The other thing that's really annoying about the Monday night games, and I said this last year, I'll say this again, and then we'll stop so we can get this done. is each game is consistently advertising the other game like, oh, it's going on over here. If I wanted to watch it, I'd be watching it stop.
Be watching that, yeah.
Like do
totally.
game breaks instead. Like, but
Yeah.
that's a whole other thing. All right, so we're split there. The Tigers against Flynn.
I mean, Flynn's been putting up numbers, so I'm gonna stick with Flynn.
I think I'll
But
go
what
Flynn
game
too.
do you-
Flynn hasn't
Yeah.
gotten back to me. Flynn, by the way, check your inbox. I sent you 4 firsts for Derek Carr. You haven't responded. Hoping you'll get back to me sometime soon. So the thing is, I think I'm going to pick Flynn, but there's a lot of pieces on the Tigers I like. I'd love to see how Jaden Daniels does. Sorry, Flynn. I'd love to see how Nico Collins does. I really liked what we saw with QJ. I like Baker. Please don't do it this week. But yeah, I'm going to go Flynn too. And then our last matchup, the Delhi against Brownout. I always forget how good Delhi's lineup is.
See that?
I
Yeah, I
look.
mean, he's consistently got a
It
pretty.
just falls off a
star-studded lineup,
cliff.
just filling in those bye weeks.
Yeah, it really just falls off a cliff once you start looking at the bench. I'm going with Fields, by the way, over Herbert. Interesting.
Yep, I think that's the move. Honestly, I mean, Herbert might not play. I don't really know.
Oh yeah, I guess that's a piece of it too, right? Is you got to play that
Got
if
that
Herbert's not
ankle
going to play.
injury,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I just think it's going to be a shootout. Sold Easton Stick for a 3rd round pick in a league the other day, by the way. Don't know
Nice.
how I did that one, but I did. Yeah, I mean Brownout's the right answer here, right?
Yeah, I think it's got to be Brown out, unfortunately. But I mean, maybe Dylan can upset. It's gonna
Maybe.
need a big rushing performance from Fields, though.
Yeah.
Maybe
All right,
he can
that'll
do
be-
it. I don't know. The Colts
that's a
defense is just ass. So
So are you taking Brownout as well?
yeah, I'm taking Brown out, but I'm saying if Allen's gonna win that game, it's gonna be because Fields runs for like 100 yards.
Yeah, would not be surprised. Wouldn't be surprised if Tyler Huntley also ran for 100 yards. So,
All right, here's my final thoughts. Who won our trade in Anonymous?
me. 100%.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I texted my coworkers about it, and they were like,
Yeah.
"That's such a mid trade," and I was like, "Fuck you guys!" I thought I was happy with that.
Yeah, I was
Here's
happy with it.
here's the trade for those of you playing along at home. Put your thought super flex 6-point passing touchdowns like the typical blind spiral settings. Put your thoughts in the league chat and tell Code I won, or tell me that I won, or tell me I lost. I don't know.
For context, I've got David Montgomery and Goff, and I was like, it doesn't make sense to be rostering both those guys, and Goff's on bye next week. So I picked up Andy Dalton in the 2nd round pick and gave blind Goff and a couple later picks. Because I think that 3rd might be like middle. The 2nd I'm getting could potentially be early because I might.
It should be an early 2nd. Yeah. And for context, this is 25 waiver dollars. So 25 waiver dollars a 2nd and a 4th got me Goff in a 3rd. Is the way that I'm trying to think about it. So
That's the way he's trading it. But Andy
Yeah.
looked the part.
yeah, and Goff is my QB3 behind Daddy and Daddy number 2. So
Yeah, and
Um,
we'll let you guys figure out who those guys are.
yeah, we all know. We all know it's Mahomes and somebody else. So
Uh,
that does it. 33 minutes. That's all right. It's fine. We're getting there. But good luck in the games this week. Plugging slightly shameless plug. I probably will not be looking at Sleeper at all. I'm going to try something new that I kind of told Code I was trying on Thursday. I'm going to try it for this whole week this week. So if you guys need anything immediately for an emergency or 911 codes, otherwise half of you have my phone number. Just text me, but don't tell me anything about any of the games except for the Eagles game. So
yeah.
yeah,
Fair.
that does it. See you guys soon. Good luck this week.